Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast. I'm Tyler Hickman. Today, reporter and editor Shay Castle digs into a question that has mobilized a group of Western Boulder County residents who feel underrepresented. Should BoCo have 5 county commissioners instead of 3? Local organization Big Tent BoCo thinks so, and they're petitioning to either add 2 at-large members or entirely redraw 5 new districts that better capture voices from the more rural western half of the region. More on that later when we hear from Shay. And before we get into this week's News Bites, here's a quick word from today's sponsor, Eldora Mountain. Skip the epic traffic on I-70 and head to Eldora for good vibes all season long. Eldora is your go-to spot for nonstop winter fun, with great local skiing and riding, plus slopeside DJs and an opera music series. Don't miss the Full Moon Ski Tour, the Timbers Rail Jam, or the morning uphill grind. Get all the details and check out weekly events at eldora.com. See you on the mountain. Now, let's get into this week's top stories. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation will be reviewing the death of 18-year-old Meghan Trussell, the agency announced recently. After months of pressing state officials to review their case, the family of the CU student, who was found dead in Boulder Canyon after being reported missing in February 2025, invoked a state law requiring officials to review the deaths of Indigenous people that are ruled suicides or drug overdoses with suspicious circumstances. The Boulder County Sheriff's Department ruled Trussell's death a suicide in May, noting the presence of amphetamines in her system, as well as exposure to a cold environment. Authorities handed the case files over to CBI, though the state agency has clarified the review is not a, quote, reinvestigation. Also, Nederland area seniors has named longtime Ned Elementary School aide and community organizer Jeanette Smith its Senior of the Year. In between her 29 years teaching local grade schoolers how to read, Smith has run local events, devoted time to Ned churches, and volunteered at the town's mining museum, all while raising 6 kids at home. Clearly a well-deserved recipient. Congrats, Jeanette. And that's a wrap on today's News Bites. As always, you can pick up a copy of this week's paper or head to the mtnear.com to read these full stories and so much more. In our feature story today, Shay met with Big Tent BoCo organizers to hear more about their push to add an additional 2 commissioners to represent Boulder County residents. While it's not totally out of the norm for a county of this size to only have 3 seats, they make an interesting case for increasing representation for the locale that stretches from the dense urban Front Range to a sparsely populated mountain region. Here's Shay.
Does Boulder County need more commissioners? There are some local residents who think so, and who are hoping voters agree. Big Tent BoCo is starting to gather signatures to put a measure on the ballot that would add 2 commissioners to Boulder County's current 3-member governing body. That 3-commissioner system has been in place since Boulder County was incorporated in 1861, according to the group's website. It's a common one. Neighboring Larimer and Gilpin counties have only 3 elected officials. So does the more populous Jefferson County. But as our population has expanded and the issues faced by our region grow more complex, Big Tent argues Boulder County needs more people to do the work. 2 new commissioners could be added at large, meaning they would represent the entire county. That's how adjacent Weld County runs things. Or the measure could result in 5 redrawn districts, with a representative from each, a la Arapahoe County. That latter option is what Big Tent organizer Masyn Moyer wants to see.
People don't come up there and even campaign like Leslie Smith did. Even when we had the fire in Nederland, Joe showed up, and Leslie Smith was there. But we don't get people helping, and we need to be seen, and we're not represented.
That's State Representative Leslie Smith and U.S. Congressman Joe Neguse Masyn was referring to. She said they are the rare exceptions when it comes to elected officials who visit the rural towns they represent. As for a lawmaker who actually lives in the mountains, it doesn't happen often.
And the way it's kind of divided up with districts right now for the 3, we always end up with somebody from the western portion of Boulder City. And that it is wildly different from Boulder to the mountains. The skill set, just the personalities, everything wildly different. And it's like anything, if you're going to represent those people and you have a district that is as diverse as this county is as well, you got to go there. You got to be with the people. You have to be relatable. You have to understand what the problems are. And we don't have that. We just haven't had it. And I think it's important, not only for us in the mountains, but as somebody who's raised on a farm and has a deep connection to farmers, I think about everybody on the eastern side, and they deserve representation.
A current resident of Ward, Moyer has also resided in Nederland, Jamestown, and Raymond. She is intimately familiar with the issues of mountain living and thinks there are plenty of ways the county could improve or even save residents' lives. That was recently made very clear when Xcel Energy shut off power during December's windstorms.
We have to start talking about microgrids. We have to start talking about the seniors that are living up there. So we just got off of essentially 13 days without power. We had 72 hours without power. We had it back on for like a day and a half, and then we went into a 7-day blackout. And then we had it back on for maybe 24 hours, and then we had a day and a half without it. During that time, my neighbor had a heart attack. I have 2 other neighbors who were on oxygen tanks, and a senior whose one little tiny propane heater ran out of gas, and at 2:30 in the morning, and I think she's in her mid 80s and maybe 80 pounds soaking wet, walked to her neighbor's house because she's freezing. Like, that's a problem. Why haven't we negotiated with Xcel that if they're going to cut off, we need warming centers, we need generators, again, we're just people in these towns. Where's our representation? Where is the rally, the people we voted in to rally for us? Again, just like farmers, these folks were raised with a fierce independence. We do things for ourselves. We are hardy folk. We can handle this. But nobody should have to be begging for resources.
The commissioners have a lot on their plates, overseeing a population of more than 300,000 across 700 square miles. The county manages open space and farms, but also sets policy for minimum wage in unincorporated towns like Allens Park, Hygiene, and Niwot. They are responsible for public health, administering help for food, housing, and childcare, executing contracts for services like ambulances. They funnel millions of dollars to area nonprofits and fire districts through grants.
So they're doing a lot of work with a small number of people with a budget that's approaching $1 billion.
That's Rachel Friend, another Big Tent organizer and former member of the 9-person Boulder City Council. Big Tent is led almost exclusively by people who've held or run for public office, including sitting state senator Judy Amabile, current county commissioner Ashley Stoltzman, and Friend's former colleague on Boulder City Council, Bob Yates. Friend, now a resident of Lyons, says the effort is not about politics or even getting the county to act on any one specific problem, such as homelessness, housing, or prairie dog management. She's not even sure adding more commissioners would move the needle in that way.
I can't say that more commissioners will help on any particular issue or anybody's particular wishes or demands. To the extent that people are hoping that this will mean that their agenda is pushed forward, I don't think that's what this is about. I think it's just about improving access and representation, and also having it be a more humane job to do and to run for. I'm personally not going to run for commissioner. I think there's some sentiment that the people working on this initiative are all ambitious and want to be a commissioner, and that, from what I've observed, is not true. It's certainly not true for me. And if you look at the supporters now, it's pretty vast, the political diversity of people who are like, yeah, this is more democracy is good. So it's not people who have the same political agenda, but just people who I think are clamoring for just more representation and more voice.
Big Tent needs to gather 13,000 signatures by July 20th in order to make November's general election ballot. In the coming months, you'll be able to find volunteers out and about throughout the county, posted up outside libraries, rec centers, and government buildings. And friend promised me they'll be in every town, not just the big ones. Thanks again to Masyn Moyer and Rachel Friend for chatting with me. You can find more information at bigtentboco.org.
Thanks, Shay. We always need a little light shed on what's going on at the county level. Appreciate you helping us stay in the loop. And keep your eyes and ears out for that petition, and we'll keep you updated on the organizers' progress. And that's all for this week. If you liked today's episode, or you want to get the word out about Big Tent, make sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, send this episode out to your friends, neighbors, and fellow concerned citizens. It's a huge, huge help for our show. If you have any hot tips, questions, or you just want to get in touch, drop me a line at tyler@themountainear.com. We always love to hear from you. This is the Mountaineer Podcast. I'm Tyler Hickman. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak-to-Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.